Three, two, one, and action. Alright, I want to thank everybody for tuning in on today's podcast, Deleted or Repeated. And today I have a very special guest down here with us today. You want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Labraysha Hamilton. Everybody may know me, some of you may not.
Alright. So I brought you on because I feel like you have a real interesting, life situation, life-changing topic, you know what I'm saying? So whatever you don't want to talk about, just feel free, to express that you don't want to talk about it. But I'm still going to ask, the question, so hopefully I don't offend you by any way. But I want to start off by asking you, where are you from?
I'm originally from Sardis, Mississippi.
Right.
Panola County. I went to school at South Panola High School.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I think that's where I can say I can remember you from. A lot of people might have thought that you were actually from BATESVILL, Mississippi. So finding out you're from Sardis, it's kind of like a brain blaster because I didn't know that,
Yes, I am.
All right, so land of the Tigers. But I want to start off by asking you, coming up, as a child, what was things like for you?
Well, for the most part, I had a pretty normal life. I was the only child. And since I could remember, it was always me and my mom and my stepdad.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, for the most part, it was a good life. I never went without.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But as far as the how would I say it? Like the mental state, like affectionate, type things. Like I did not receive that type things from my mom.
Right.
Or like from my stepdad, we was real close. We had a real close bond. I could talk to him about anything. I could go to him about a lot of things that I couldn't go to my mom about.
Right.
But it's a lot of things too that, what I'm saying, he would not, or we as both, we would not discuss or converse on because him being my stepdad, what I'm saying, him not being blood related to me.
Mm-hmm.
So that left my mom being the only choice, but I did not have that in her. So, like I said, it was all right as far as stability and, getting housed and clothed and fed. That was great.
Right.
But on the other level, not so much.
Right. Well, I heard when you said that you really couldn't go to your mom like on certain things, stuff like that. It normally be like that, but I also heard when you said you grew up with your stepdad and stuff like that. So I want to go back and ask you, where was your dad at the time?
My dad, he was incarcerated most of my childhood. If he wasn't incarcerated, he was out of town, with different women of his choice, whoever he was with at the time.
All right.
But he wasn't in my life, like I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm. But did you know of him?
I
You
did.
pretty much knew who he was?
I did. And I talked to him plenty of times, over the phone when he was incarcerated.
All right.
Yeah, and my grandma, which is his mom, she lived like a couple houses down from me.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in his life, in their life, and I knew of him most definitely.
Right. Because that's what I was just about to ask you. Like, was it times where you tried to reach out and make it be known that you wanted to be in life, but you just expressed that you was?
Oh, no, I was in his life, just not physically because he was incarcerated.
Mm-hmm. So do you feel like him being incarcerated kind of took the moments and the time away from you guys, or do you feel like he still wouldn't have been around even if he wouldn't have been incarcerated?
No, he would have been around because before he died in 2015. But before he died, he was around. He had just got out of prison in 2014, and he stayed around for a year until he passed away.
Right.
But he was a roll runner. He stayed in the streets. But he was definitely around. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just that he was incarcerated. You know what I'm saying? What led him to not be around like he wanted to be.
Right.
But if he was free, he most definitely would have been around.
I know that's pretty much the normal story, you know, when it comes to like a dad in a broken home, you know, because there's always a lot of things. Well, it's easier to get into stuff, but it's a little harder to get out of it. So, you know, and him passing away in 2015, you said, yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. So R.I.P. to him. And I noticed that you said that you had a pretty good relationship with your stepdad. So tell me about your relationship. How was it, like, on a scale from 1 to 10? Would you say it was
10?
10. Man, it's great that another guy can, well, not like that, but a guy can step in and.
Yeah, because it ain't too many men left out here like
Right.
him.
I agree. And so what made you feel like that you really couldn't just go to your mom on certain things? Like, was she not agreeing with you in certain situations where you feel like you should have, you know, kind of had your way at that moment or anything like that, or she should have agreed with you or sided with you or anything like that?
No. When I say that, I say that because, like, she did not know how to express her love in a way that I was looking for. You understand what I'm saying? Like, she was not the affectionate type. She did not, you know what I'm saying? Like, she wasn't that type. She was like hard type, straight.
Right.
She didn't, or if I did go to her about something, whether I was right or wrong, if I was wrong, you know, she would make me feel horrible about it, you know what I'm saying, horrible about myself. And if I was right, you know what I'm saying, it would just be a nonchalant situation, like so.
Right, like no big deal.
Right.
And you're right. But make the biggest fuss when you're wrong, or they feel like you are wrong.
Right.
Okay, I can kind of relate to that because I know sometimes I can be like that. You know, not as a parent, but you know, to certain people around me. So I know how that is. Like, I can be on them, then I just get nonchalant when they tell me something good.
And
but I really be
messed
happy
up.
deep inside.
Well, yeah, you should let that be known, because some people be needing that. You know, some people like to be congratulated. People like for you to recognize they good just as well as you recognize the bad. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Okay. So let me ask you this right here. You said you wasn't able to go, you know, to talk to her like you wanted to, and it was times where you probably felt, or she made you feel even worse than what it really was at the time. But what do you feel like? Do you feel like it was anything that was kind of causing her to be the way, like childhood trauma, or was there any type of drugs or anything like that involved, or anything?
To be honest, coming up, my mom, she never like went and got tested. Like, she never went to the doctor or none of that. But she never had noticeable health issues either. You know what I'm saying? If you had to guess, you would think she was a healthy, you know what I'm saying,
Right.
woman. But like my mom's mom, my grandmother, she before she passed, she was diagnosed with schizophrenia. I think that's the correct term. But from what I've been told, it's hereditary, something like that.
Right.
I think. Okay, so looking back at some of the times and some of the situations that occurred, it makes me wonder, you know what I'm saying, like, did she suffer from schizophrenia also? Because like this, she gave me the vibe like as where she had it was a mental problem, like something she could not control. And I say that to say, like, if she done something to me that was wrongful, it wasn't intentionally, you know what I'm saying? It was just a disease that she could not control, you feel what I'm saying?
Right.
And as far as drugs, no, my mom did not do drugs. She may have drank the beer here and there, you know what I'm saying? you know, took a shot here and there. And I will say that when she did drink, you know, beer, it did entice the situation or her behavior. It made it worse. It did. But I honestly believe that she suffered from a mental issue relating, you know. But I don't know. I think it was deeper. It was a deeper problem than what I can understand or what I may know, you know what I'm saying, or what the people may know.
Right.
Because like I said, she never went and got tested. She never went to doctors and got diagnosed with anything. But if you was there to experience it, you would know, you know what I'm saying? Common sense will tell you that something's wrong.
Right.
You understand? Yeah.
So, you know, with all that being said, you know, having moments like that or having a diagnosis like that can be real. And, you know, drinking a couple beers or whatever, it could intensify, you know, the reactions and stuff like that. So I can understand and see that. At the same time, I want to ask you, when do you feel like you started to notice, like, or when did you start to feel like that she might have had like a schizophrenic problem or any type of diagnosis?
Honestly, I would say I was maybe about 15, 16, up in that area. Because when I was young, I did not know anything about that. I didn't, you know what I'm saying? I was not familiar with what it was, or what the side effects, or what, you know what I'm saying, behaviors to look forward to, you know what I'm saying? I did not know. But as I got older and researched things, you know what I'm saying, and learned different things, and knowing that my grandmother, you know what I'm saying, was you know, a person who had schizophrenia, and the behaviors and the way that she used to act before she passed away, it opened my mind and made me, you know, think and consider maybe my mom, you know, is suffering from the same thing, the same disease.
Right.
So okay. I'd say about 15, 16.
That's pretty early. So, you know, my thing to you is, I know this might be a little touchy situation, and, you know, this is the touchy part, but it was a situation where you unalive, you know, your mom, and, you know, that's what it's all about, the situation, what I mean when I say it's all about. That's what the situation is all about. But at the same time, by you knowing this, like at an early age, 15, 14, you know, do you feel like maybe it could have went a different way, you know, by you maybe understanding or knowing that she might have been diagnosed or maybe had a problem, you know? So do you feel like you went by it the right way with how it happened?
Honestly, I'm going to say when I did start to realize that something may have been wrong with my mom mentally, it's still like I did not have confirmation. So, and I still don't today.
Right.
So, I'm not going to say I would make myself feel bad as far as I know, because that's just an assumption that I have. But even though dealing with, you know, what was going on between me and her at the time or throughout my whole life, it was kind of like confusing, like tug of war. You know what I'm saying? One day is good, one day is not. And you know, you're dealing with things outside of home too. It's just so much, you know what I'm saying, that's going on, that I had going on. And I guess I just did not think, or of course I was not going to claim anything that I wasn't, you know, sure of. But I say that just because I know that the family, it was in the family, it ran in the family of being schizophrenic, having schizophrenia. But I don't know. I don't know really how to answer your question. If you would ask it again, I'll try to answer it again.
Okay, so what I was saying was about you kind of, you know, having it in your head that, hey, my mom might be schizophrenic. You know, she might have a little problem going on inside her head, you know. And so the situation that occurred when you had unalived her, I was asking you, like, do you feel like it could have went like a different way with you knowing, like, okay, she might have a problem?
I got you.
And I'm not.
Right, like I said, I didn't know. Like, I wasn't sure if she did have schizophrenia or not. It just was an assumption, like I said. But also, my mom and my stepdad were the only two people that I had to turn to. You feel what I'm saying? So I had nowhere else to go, and I had children at the time that it happened. You know what I'm saying? And it would have been different if it had have been me,
Right.
just me. Because I don't mind. I will go, I don't care who else I go live in, who else, you know what I'm saying? And where I will reside. But being that I had children, I had to, you know what I'm saying, tolerate things and be at home so they would have a home.
Right.
So if it had have been, if I had another option or another decision, or if I could have done it different, I most definitely would have. You feel what I'm saying? Most definitely.
Right.
But being that I had children and my mom and my stepdad were the only people that I had, and at the time, you know what I'm saying, I was messing around still with my baby dad, but things were really horrible and there too, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I was back and forth. If I wasn't at home, I was with him. If I wasn't with him, I was at home. So it was a bad situation on both ends. You understand what I'm saying? So.
Well, me personally, I feel like it's a very, you know, messed up situation. Simple fact, because things going on at home. Then you got, you know, your baby dad that's supposed to be there, you know, kind of helping you, coaching you through everything, and making things a little better was kind of one of your dark times too, dealing with him.
Correct. And I will say that God, he works in a mysterious way. And God is good because, honestly, and I have told the law enforcement this while I was incarcerated, you know, in the county being held. When I first caught the charge, I have told them this, and so it's no secret.
Right.
God works in mysterious ways because I had no intentions on that happening between me and my mom. But the reason of me even having a gun was because my baby daddy was putting his hands on me.
Right.
And it was just me. And like I said, if I wasn't at home, I was with him. And so that was my protection. And I was not finna tolerate a man putting their hands on me, but at the same time, I couldn't leave him alone.
Right.
But if I had I feel like if I had have done something as far as taking his life, I would be sitting in prison on a life sentence right now.
Right.
No matter what the situation, you know what I'm saying, had been between us, I would probably be facing a life sentence. But it being my mom and with it being a story, you know what I'm saying, even though I would have rather for it to been him than my mom.
Right.
But it being my mom and us having a history and the relationship we had, God allowed it to be that because, look, I'm home.
Right. Okay, so, you know, when you said a gun, a lot of people thought that it was a knife. You know, even me, I thought it was a knife. Stories have been told to me, it was told that you used a knife. So let's clear this up now. It wasn't a knife, it was a gun.
Yes, it was a gun. My mom, she had a pair of scissors when the incident took place. She
Let me ask you this before you get into that. Let me ask you, what could have possibly, you know, taken place for it to come down to that?
What do you mean?
Like, what could have taken place? What took in place for it to lead to that?
Yeah, right. My mom attacked me with a pair of scissors, but it didn't just come out of the blue. It played step by step and it led into that. But before it played into that part, it was not a physical altercation at all.
Mm-hmm.
It was more a verbal. And it wasn't a hostile one. It was a calm conversation. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
But, and that's what was so different. Because most of the time, it be rah, 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 back and forth. But that time, it was a more, she was talking and I was listening. And I guess that triggered her and she did not like that response. And so she asked me to get out, leave. And so we was outside at the time. She asked me to leave. She told me I had to go. And I told her, okay. I said, I'm going to get my kids and we're going to go. And she said, all right. And I told her, go ahead, you go first. You understand? I told her to go first in the house and I was going to walk behind her. Because I say all the time, something told me to let her go first and not go ahead of her. But it wasn't nobody but God telling me to let her go first.
Right.
And so when I told her, you know, go ahead, I'm coming on behind you, she had the scissors in her hand at the time. And she turned around, she walked on to the house.
Right.
And she walked inside and I walked in behind her. And when the door closed, the screen door of the house, when it closed, she turned around and she attacked me with the scissors. And I pulled my gun out and I just shot. I shot twice.
Wow.
First time I shot, I missed because I was aiming at the floor. I was just trying to scare her to make her stop. And she wouldn't stop. And so I raised the gun up a little bit higher and I shot her in her pelvic. And she bled out, you know, more because she had been drinking.
Right.
She was intoxicated.
Okay, so, you know, drinking, it do kind of make the blood run a little faster.
Your blood, it does.
But at any point of that altercation, do you feel like you could have, you know, gotten away from her at any moment or at any time before pulling the trigger?
Honestly, when we went in the house, before we even made it inside of the house, I knew that she had the scissors in her hand. So I was already in defense mode to protect myself. You understand what I'm saying? So, and me knowing my mom, I know that I'm not how I want to say this. She don't play.
Right.
She'll handle that business. She'll take it there with you. So, and she don't care about me being her child. She told me all the time that if it came down to it, she would treat me like I was somebody out in the street. So she did not care about me being her child when it came to her fighting me.
Right.
Or, you know what I'm saying, doing anything to me violent. She didn't care about that. So, and when she had the scissors, it had never in my life had gotten that serious. But before she went in the house to get the scissors, as we was having a conversation we was having before, I looked my mom in the eyes and she had a look that I can't even really describe it, but it was like a look of, it was a dark look. And it sent chills over me and I knew then that something, this time, this is it. Right, like something's finna happen. It's serious. But I still, at the time, did not know that it was going to be that.
So where was your stepdad at the time?
He was in the house with my kids. And me and my mom were outside on the porch. She was smoking a cigarette and I was smoking a cigarette as well. So actually I was out there first and she came out with me. And that's when the conversation took place. And it, you know, just led from one thing to another. And it happened so fast, it just... But like I said, it never had been a time where we fought all the time, don't get me wrong. I'm not disputing any of it. And she has pulled plenty of weapons on me. But it has never been direct contact the way it was that night. And I was scared.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know how far it could have, you know what I'm saying, went. And I did not want her to hurt me. And my baby was standing right there in the living room with us, watching it all.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask, how many kids did you have at the time?
2.
2. And so at the point where you say y'all had y'all look, well, she had her moment, you were sitting there listening, then she told you to get your kids and leave. Was your kids, when you left, was your kids not out there with you there, like in the house with the
They were in the
stepdad?
house. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because at the time, my mom, she had a set schedule for me. I had a curfew. And it being her house, it was her rules.
Right.
And my curfew was at 10 o'clock. Sometimes I wouldn't make it, sometimes I would. If I didn't make it, I just wouldn't come to the next day. Because I didn't have to come home. It's just that you weren't coming in her house.
At a certain time.
Right.
Oh,
So, right. So, that night, I came home, I say around 8 o'clock. It was early. It was out of the norm for myself, you feel what I'm saying? And I got my kids fed, took them a bath, put them in the bed, and I went outside to smoke.
Right. So you weren't about to leave again at any point?
No. I went outside to smoke. I had already chilled. I had just come home from, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Chilling. So, no. Okay. I went outside, sat on the porch, I smoked. That's when my mom, she came outside and she started talking to me about just different things that she didn't agree with that I was doing pertaining to myself, the kids, you know, a lot of things, rules that she had that, you know what I'm saying, I didn't agree with or I wouldn't uphold, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I was just listening to her and I kept saying, okay, Ma, and she went on. I guess as I was saying okay to her, to everything, she was getting more and more irritated. And she then switched to, I'm not doing nothing else for you and the kids, and you know what I'm saying, that type energy. So I still was like, okay, Mom, you know. And so she went to walk in the house. To like basically ending the conversation, like she's not gonna give me no feedback. I'm just finna, you know what I'm saying, go.
Right.
And so she went to go in the house, but as she was going in the house, she was saying something, but she was moving her hands. She was talking with her hands. And I'm so used to my mama hitting me. I thought she was finna hit me.
Wow.
And so when she was talking to me with her hands, cause she was walking past me going in the house. So as she was walking past me, she was talking with her hands. And I thought she was finna hit me. And I slapped her hand back like that. And she just went to fight me. Just went in. And I did not fight her back. I just got up and I grabbed her and I held her to stop her from hitting me. And by that time, my stepdad, he realized something was going on. And he came to the door and he came outside. And he was telling us to stop, you know what I'm saying, stop doing all that. He called the police, you know. And so I was telling him, she holding me, you know what I'm saying. She won't let me go. And so I got her loose. I got her hands loose from around me. And when I got her loose, she looked at me and she told me, she said, you just still be standing there when I come back. So when she went in the house, I walked on out in the yard by the dumpster, our dumpster, which is a more dark area. So therefore, when she came back out, she wouldn't see me. That's what I was thinking and hoping.
Right.
But when she came back outside, she came right directly to where I was.
With the scissors?
With the scissors, yes. And she walked up to me and she told me, she said, swing. That's what she was telling me, to swing. She was wanting to proceed in taking place on the porch.
Right.
And I looked at her and I said, Mama, I'm not going to hit you. I said, but if I feel like my life is in danger, I'm gonna protect myself.
Mm-hmm.
And she looked at me and she told me, she said, get your shit. Excuse my language.
Oh, you're okay.
But I just want to be completely truthful of what, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to switch it up. I want to give it to you exactly how it happened.
Right.
And she told me, she said, you get your shit and you get out of my house. And I told her, I said, okay, I'm going to get my kids and we're going to go. And she said, go. And I said, all right, you go first. And she turned around. She walked towards the house. And I walked behind her to follow her in the house to go get my children. When we walked in the house, she walked in first. I walked in behind her. My daughter was standing in the living room. My son was in the back room with my stepdad.
Right.
When the door closed behind me, my mom turned around and she hit me. She hit me with the hand that she had the scissors in.
Mm-hmm.
When she hit me, I thought she stabbed me. I didn't know if she did or she didn't. All I know is she just hit me with the hand that she had the scissors in.
Right.
And when she hit me, it blurred my eyesight. So I couldn't see. But I had my fanny pack on at the time and I kept my gun inside of my fanny pack.
Mm-hmm.
And so I unzipped my fanny pack and I just pulled the gun out and I cocked it and I shot in the floor because I couldn't see.
Right.
So I shot to alarm her and make her stop. You feel what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
As when I gained my eyesight back, which did not take long at all,
Mm-hmm.
you understand? I realized that she was coming back at me, you know what I'm saying, charging back at me. She wasn't stopping.
Right.
You understand? So I tilted the gun up a little bit higher and I shot again.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, I still didn't know I had shot her until she replied and said, she started backing up. And my stepdad, by this time, was coming out of the bedroom from hearing the gunshots.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom started walking towards him. And she quoted and said, she shot me. Nope, that bitch shot me.
Wow.
And I started.
It's taking time. I know this can be a very, touchy topic. So you can just take your time.
Oh.
Let me get you some tissue right quick.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So when she said that, I started walking towards her to help her.
All right. And you said by that time, that's when the stepdad had came out.
Yeah, I started
intervened.
walking towards her. We was, both approaching her. And my stepdad, he saw the blood and he realized she had been shot. And he looked at me, he said, "You shot your mama."
So what was the kids at the time? What was their reaction?
My daughter, she was still standing the same spot she was standing in. My son, I don't know where he was. But he was most definitely there at the time. But it was so much taking place that I don't know where he was.
Right.
But my stepdad, he said, "You just shot your mom. You just shot your mama." And he, instead of him continuing to help my mom, it's like his mind clicked and he ran back into his room.
Right.
And I instantly thought that he was going to get his gun.
Mm-hmm.
And so I ran out of the house. And I ran to my neighbors. And I knocked on their door until they came. And I told, my cousin came to the door. And I told him, I said, "I need you to go down to the house and check on my mama. I just shot her." And he was like, "You playing?" I'm like, "No, I'm not playing." And so he went and got his auntie up, and his auntie, she went down to the house. And I stayed at her house because I was scared.
Right.
I didn't know what my stepdad was finna do. You know what I'm saying? So I stayed there and I waited on the police to get there. And before the police got there, though, I was asking, because it did not take long at all for the neighborhood to get there.
Right.
So I was asking different people, you know, how my mom was doing, how she doing. And, you know, she was breathing the entire time I was there. And, you know, people was like, it's not bad. They was telling me that I shot her in her stomach. But it wasn't her stomach, it was her pelvic, but the same area.
Right.
But they was telling me that she was okay, she was breathing. And okay, so I'm like, okay, all right. By that time, the police finally arrives, and they looking for me. And I come out, and I give them the weapon. They read my rights, put me in handcuffs. Before I leave the scene, I asked one more person, how was my mom doing?
Right.
And they said she's still breathing. So I said, okay, I got in the truck. He put me in the truck. He took me down to the station. I didn't talk to nobody that night at all. Before we left, the ambulance still hadn't got there.
Mm-hmm.
The helicopter could not land in our yard because there was so many trees
Right.
in the area. So they had to land maybe 10 to 12 miles up the road at a church. But there's still no help because they couldn't move, you know what I'm saying? So we had to wait on they had to wait on the ambulance. They didn't get there until, this is what I was told, 45 minutes after the call. And when I got to the jail, I got booked and I got put into a cell. And I didn't talk to nobody that night, like I said. But the next day, the investigators, they came and got me and questioned me and asked me what happened, you know, asked me my story. And I told them. And after I told them my side of the story, I asked one of the investigators, I said, has anybody heard from my mom how she's doing?
Right.
Not knowing that my mom had died on the scene.
Wow.
When the paramedics arrived, it was a DOA. She was dead on arrival. But I did not know that. So I asked the investigator, how's my mom doing? Has anybody heard her? Has any updates? And the investigator, he looked at his coworker, his other coworker, and he was like, well, I'm just going to tell her. It's like they was nervous or didn't want to tell me, didn't want to break it off to me that she had passed. And when he said that to his coworker, that I'm just going to tell her, I still did not think that he was about to say something like that. I thought he was finna just tell me what my charge may have been, you know what I'm saying? And so he came back into the room and he was like, your mom, she didn't make it.
Mm.
And it just, I couldn't believe it.
Right.
Because that definitely was not my intention. Like, I did not intend on that to happen at all. But like I said, man, God allowed things to happen for a certain reason, and we may not at the time understand.
Right.
But it's all for the, it's in the end, it's gonna be for our good, for the best of us, to better us. But yeah.
So let me ask you this. I heard you say your kids were there at the time and your girl was there and, you know, possibly seen it. So do you feel like it affected them in any type of way?
It most definitely did.
So is it something that they have spoken on since it have happened, or they just, or you can see it in their actions, you know, how they acting out or lashing out from the situation?
Well, now things have eased up.
Right.
Like we all after so long, people learn how to deal with things or they forget about it.
Right.
But they definitely ain't forgot about their granny. But I will say they have never questioned or became rebellious towards me pertaining to the situation because they seen enough.
Right.
And they know they have asked 1,000 questions, and the older they get, the more they realize right from wrong.
Right. So what you say, like, before all this happened, there was real deal fist fights before this, that,
Not fist fights, because I've never balled my fist up and hit my mom. I done tussled with her, yes. But on her end, I can't say that. Because she'll ball her fist up, throat. She will use whatever or do whatever. But I never did that in return to her because I couldn't understand what caused it.
Right.
And I did not have no personal problem or negativity or anything towards my mom. But it was something more personal she was dealing with within herself. Right. So she was more of the aggressor than I was.
So do this bother you in any type of way since this ever happened? Like, have you lost sleep? Or what about, when you got locked up? Did that bother you?
How much of it? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so like when you had got locked up and did the time, were you able to sleep at night, or like you lost a lot of sleep, maybe guilt, or even feel like maybe it could have went a different type of way, the way it did?
When it first took place, yes. I couldn't understand. And I still quite don't understand.
Right.
But I have a more mature and a more better understanding of how God works and how He allowed things to happen. So, learning how to just walk in His footsteps and trust Him, even though I still don't quite understand.
Right.
And I question, even though I'm not supposed to. And I do beat myself up a lot about it because I do ask myself, could it have been something else you could have done? You know what I'm saying? But God has revealed so much to me and shown me so much, to whereas He's telling me and letting me know, don't blame yourself. Do not beat yourself up about it. This is in my will. It was supposed to happen like this. Right. Even though, you know what I'm saying, you might not agree with it or you might not understand the purpose of it. Just trust it. You understand what I'm saying? Right. And the more He showed me that, the more I understand, and I stop making myself feel guilty and beating myself up about it. But I don't think that I would ever become 100% to that point, because at the end of the day, God, Lord forbid for me about what I'm about to say. It could have been anybody, but why my mom?
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? And I know people have that question, but I got that question. So don't ask me, because I don't even know. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's just something that the older I get and the more I understand God's way of doing things, and you know what I'm saying, his word, I guess I'll understand later on why he allowed it to go like, you know what I'm saying, it went. But I think I'm heading in that direction.
Okay, so what about the people on your mom's side of the family? How do they feel about the situation? Do they still welcome you with open arms, or is it like a touchy situation when it comes to that?
Most of them, for the most part, they all welcome me, you know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna say that nothing has changed, because you can tell that something has changed.
Right.
But them turning their backs on me, and I would say just not dealing with me or having some type of hatred towards me, I don't feel like that's taking place, because my aunties and my cousins, they know
Right.
what kind of life, you know what I'm saying, that I went through with my mom. They might feel like I could have done something, just like everybody may feel like that, even me. But they know what I went through. So nothing has changed drastically, I would say, from what they have shown me, but from one of my aunties. But she doesn't live here. She lives out of town, and we don't have no kind of communication at all. But I still love her to death, and I just hope one day she'll be able to understand. Well, I ain't gonna say understand, but forgive me, you know, and know that I love her.
All right. Well, I'm almost 100% sure that she's possibly going to see this video, and hopefully she can, you know, kind of look at things differently the way she is now. Because I can understand, you know, from your point of view on how things went, because I feel like if you're put into a life or death situation, if you're back into the corner, it's like a human thing to kind of lash out or defend yourself. Me personally, that's how I feel, because I feel like if it's me or death, or me getting hurt and not being able to go and see my kids again, like, I'm gonna choose them.
Right.
So that's why I can honestly say I can feel your side of the story. And like, I really do. I really do hate that it happened the way it did. I wish it could have been, you know, a different outcome for the both of you guys.
Thank you.
I honestly wish you could have worked things out. But like you said, things happen for a reason. So don't ever feel like it happened for no reason. Like, because if that was the case, God wouldn't allow it to happen. And he only take the strongest through the toughest battle. So that's one thing